Let's get one thing straight. When a woman starts acting cold, distant, and emotionally unavailable, most men panic. They chase harder, call more often, text paragraphs, and start over-explaining themselves. And guess what? That's the exact moment she loses even more interest. You become the guy she wants space from, not the man she misses. In today's dating world, the guy who reacts emotionally to a woman's cold behavior always loses power. Women have options, attention from social media, and countless men throwing themselves at them. What separates the boys from the men is how you respond when she starts pulling away. Most guys don't know how to do this right. They think showing more effort will melt the ice, but that's not how attraction works. When she starts acting cold, the best response isn't to convince her to come back. It's to give her distance, and not just any distance. Intentional, confident, masculine distance. The kind that silently says, if you're not sure about me, that's fine, I've got options too. You don't say it, you show it. This is where most men fail. They confuse love with weakness. They think emotional availability means always being there, no matter how poorly she acts. But attraction doesn't grow from comfort. It grows from space, uncertainty, and tension. When you give a cold woman distance, it forces her to feel the absence of your energy. And that's when she starts to feel curiosity, regret, and fear. Fear that she's losing a man who values himself. This video is for the man who's tired of overgiving, tired of begging for affection, and ready to take back control of the dynamic. Here's what to do when a woman acts cold, step by step. Let's get into it. 1. Stop reacting emotionally. The very first thing a man must do when a woman begins to act cold is to stop reacting emotionally. Most men lose the game at this stage because they let their emotions take control. They respond with frustration, anxiety, or neediness. They overcommunicate. They ask, "Is everything okay?" 100 times. They try to fix something that isn't theirs to fix. This emotional response is what kills attraction faster than anything else. You need to understand that when a woman pulls back, she's either testing your emotional stability or she's genuinely losing interest. Either way, your emotional reaction is not the solution. In fact, it's the very thing that confirms to her that you're not the strong, grounded man she thought you were. Real strength as a man is shown in your ability to stay centered, even when things feel uncertain. Instead of trying to chase clarity from her, become the man who doesn't flinch. Instead of chasing her validation, validate yourself. This doesn't mean you become rude, aggressive, or passive-aggressive. It means you respond to her distance with silence, with calmness, with presence. That's power. When a man doesn't emotionally collapse under pressure, it silently tells a woman that she's not in control of his state. And women are deeply drawn to men who have that level of internal control. You must retrain your instincts. When you feel the urge to double text her, resist it. When you feel the need to ask why she's acting strange, don't. Let her feel the weight of her behavior. Let her wonder why you're not reacting like every other man. Because that moment of silence, that's where your power is. That's where attraction starts to reignite. Because distance, when delivered with composure, creates space for reflection. She can't reflect when you're constantly flooding her with energy, and you can't lead if you're emotionally spiraling. Let her see the version of you that doesn't chase, doesn't fold, and doesn't fear walking away if she's not all in. That's the man she'll remember. That's the man she'll miss. And more importantly, that's the man who doesn't just react. He chooses his response. Always remember, emotional control is not suppression. It's discipline. And in the modern dating world, discipline is what separates the men who get respect from the men who get left behind. 2. Let silence speak for you. When a woman starts acting cold, the worst thing a man can do is fill the silence with desperate noise. Most guys don't know how to be quiet. They panic when the conversation dies. They send random check-ins, just making sure you're okay, or, did I do something wrong? Without realizing they're just making things worse. Here's the truth. When a woman pulls away emotionally, your silence becomes your weapon. It creates mystery. It forces her to sit with her own thoughts. It allows her to notice your absence. And most importantly, it gives her a taste of what life feels like without you constantly showing up. You don't chase. You don't explain. You don't beg. You disappear, not out of weakness, but out of strength. You give her the very thing she's indirectly asking for, space, but you give it with confidence. Not like a man waiting in the shadows hoping she'll miss him. No, like a man who understands his value and knows that distance is a filter that reveals whether she truly values your presence or was just using your attention to feed her ego. Silence is uncomfortable for most men because it forces them to confront the possibility of rejection. But here's what most don't understand. If a woman is meant to stay in your life, silence won't drive her away. It'll wake her up. It'll trigger something deep. She'll start to wonder why you're not chasing like every other man. She'll begin to question whether she misjudged your worth. That seed of doubt you plant by going silent, that's what starts the shift in power. Let her reach out. Let her feel that pause. Because if she never does, then your silence helped reveal a truth you needed to see. That you were holding on to someone who was never really choosing you in the first place. And if she does come back, she's now approaching you. Not because you manipulated her, but because you gave her what most men are too afraid to. The gift of missing you. Every woman, no matter how independent or confident, still craves a man she can feel emotionally challenged by. Your silence does just that. It puts her in a position to feel uncertain, curious, even a little bit insecure. And that's when attraction reawakens. Because chasing makes you predictable. But silence? Silence makes her start imagining things, wondering if you're talking to someone else, questioning if she lost a man who had real value. That's power. And that's why silence isn't passive. It's an active display of strength. So when she acts cold, let your silence speak for you. It says everything you don't need to. 3. Pull your energy back. There's a truth in the modern dating game that most men refuse to accept. Your attention is your power. Your energy, your time, your emotional investment, these are all forms of currency. And when a woman starts acting cold, she's essentially telling you that she doesn't value that currency anymore, at least not in that moment. That's when most guys make the mistake of giving more of it. They become emotionally generous in the wrong direction. They continue checking in, complimenting her, validating her, trying to warm her up again. But all they're really doing is bleeding out energy to someone who is no longer reciprocating. When a woman changes how she shows up, you must change how you show up. Not out of bitterness, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You must pull your energy back. That means your attention, your focus, your emotional availability, all of it needs to return to you. Not in a way that feels like a punishment, but in a way that makes her realize what she's lost access to. The key is to do this without being theatrical. Don't announce that you're stepping back. Don't send a dramatic message saying, "I'm done trying." No, you just stop giving. You stop initiating. You stop checking her stories. You stop responding instantly. You stop letting her behavior dictate your mood. You slowly reclaim your energy like a man who understands that what he gives is valuable and not to be taken lightly. This is not about trying to manipulate her into caring. It's about restoring balance. It's about remembering that relationships should flow both ways. If she's cold, detached, or dismissive, then continuing to pour into her only teaches her one thing, that she can treat you any kind of way and still have full access to your love, time, and presence. That's not attractive. That's not masculine. That's weakness disguised as romance. Now, when you pull back, something interesting happens. A woman who was feeling emotionally dominant in the interaction starts to feel the shift. Suddenly, she's not being flooded with attention anymore. She starts to notice the absence. She checks to see if you viewed her posts. She rereads your last message. She asks herself why things feel different. That's the moment you start getting her attention again. Not because you begged for it, but because you took yours away first. You see, the man who learns how to master his energy becomes magnetic. He becomes unpredictable. He becomes the man a woman can't fully figure out. And that's when desire builds. Not when you're overly available, not when you're emotionally chasing, but when you're centered, focused, and willing to withdraw your energy the moment it stops being appreciated. So if she's acting cold, don't match her energy. Reclaim yours. Give her the silence, give her the space, and let your absence remind her of what she once had full access to. That's how you shift the dynamic without ever saying a word.